Welcome to Less Than 12 Parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. Now here's your host, Tim McMahon.
I love you.
I know.
Hey, it's Tim. Here's hoping that all of you are having a wonderfully romantic Valentine's Day. The flutter of Cupid's wings in the air turns my mind to the idea of romance. Now, I'm going to say something here which I think won't be controversial, but I know some of you will disagree with. And please, if you do disagree, let me know. I always want to hear your thoughts. I am of the opinion that the romantic elements of the Star Wars franchise are one of the weakest elements of the Star Wars franchise. You could put it up there with the clunky dialogue, which I love, and the two-dimensional characters whom I love, but romance is not one of the strengths of Star Wars. Let's take a look back and see what I mean. The original trilogy gave us Han and Leia, and don't get me wrong, their bickering in Empire was perfect, and the carbon freezing I love you scene is a classic of cinema. This is a great start to a wonderful relationship, but when Jedi rolled around, they were just so flat. It's like they went from hearts a-fluttering young lovers to an old married couple. And I use that in a good way, not as a negative term, because I'm part of an old married couple myself. In Jedi, it was obvious that they loved each other, but in the way that people who have been together for 10 years or more do. Yes, time has passed between the films, but they weren't together in that time, so they should have picked up right where they left off. Instead, we get a relationship time jump, for lack of a better term. Oh, in A New Hope, it set up a potentially great love triangle, but the trilogy never allowed it to play out. And please, don't give me the fact that Luke and Leia were twins, that's the reason why. Come on, we all know that Lucas didn't come to that conclusion until the very end. Next, we have Anakin and Padme in the prequel trilogy. A romantic story? No, far from it. They meet as kids, and sure, I could go along with the idea that Anakin carried a torch for Padme for all those years if he had been 15 or 16, but the fact that they met when he was, 8 or 9? No, I'm just not buying it. In episode 2, I'm sorry, but Anakin is just a creep. He's almost a stalker. I would not want my daughter to date a guy who acted like this around her. It's just icky. Plus, nowhere does it feel to me like Padme's into him. I just chalk up their first kiss to the fact that they're about to die, and that's it. Then, by episode 3, it feels like Padme has just been brainwashed into loving him. Who knows, maybe Anakin's been using the Jedi mind trick through their entire marriage on her. The sequel trilogy so far has given us nothing. And while I think it's great that Rey is a headstrong female character who doesn't need a relationship to a man to define her, but come on, there's a reason the idea of Poe and Finn may be a couple is spread. It's because people want a little bit of love and romance in their entertainment. We did have Han and Leia together again, and I will say that felt real to me, but it was also very sad. And what I said about Rey could also be said for Jyn in Rogue One. And while I was happy that her and Cassian didn't hook up in the movie, as it was written, the film could have easily been rewritten to have them as a couple. I could imagine a story very much like Han and Leia's in Empire, where they didn't like each other at first, and then they get on each other's nerves so much that they end up falling in love. But no, that was not the story we were given. Now, Star Wars is more than films. There's a lot of books. Specifically, looking back at the old expanded universe, Luke did have a handful of girlfriends, but none of them seemed to really work for me. But that may be because I always thought that Luke was not handled properly in the old U. And that's a story for another episode. And yes, I know some of you are shouting, yes, but what about Mara Jade? Mara Jade! Oh, Mara Jade's so awesome! Again, this is another relationship I just didn't buy. Yes, they tried to do the old opposites attract thing, but it never felt real to me. If you can send me the paragraph where they fell in love, I would appreciate it, because I do not ever remember reading that. I will give credit where credit is due. I will say that the new canon novel, Lost Stars, is an amazing love story. It's a bit of a Romeo and Juliet story, where two people from opposite sides of society, and then from opposite sides of the galactic conflict, find love with each other. If you haven't read this book, go out and get it now. You won't regret it. It's great. So, do I have it all wrong? Is the Star Wars franchise filled with more heart-pounding, lovey-dovey, mushy-mushiness than I give it credit for? Is it the place to turn to when the Hallmark Channel and Harlequin novels just won't do? If so, tell me. I want to know. Email me at 12parsekspodcast@gmail.com or connect with me on any of my social media accounts. All the links can be found on my website, 12parsekspodcast.com. Thanks for listening. Utini!
I love you.
I know.
You've been listening to Less Than 12 Parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy, part of the expanded Fandomverse network of shows. For links and show notes, visit our website, 12parsekpodcast.com. Follow Less Than 12 Parsecs on Twitter at 12parpod, on Instagram at 12parsekspodcast, on Tumblr at 12parsekspodcast, and find us on Facebook as well. And please let us know what you think. Email us at 12parsekspodcast@gmail.com.